Haribo. Hare Krishna. I'm also giving the class at 7. 7 o'clock. Well, just for some local devotees. But it can be broadcast to anywhere.
From here?
From here, you mean? No.
From
Yeah, yeah. Well, it could be from here, I mean. But probably down in Prabhupada's room. Yeah, because it's at 7 o'clock. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, we didn't figure out how to take the top off the cooling device. Did you?
very well now. It's not necessary.
Okay.
Because main thing is, well, more than 50% coolers inside.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Anyway, it is possible to take that thing, but I've done it before a couple of times. It was when we were in Santin, it was off. But when we were coming down, just leaving the house, just for traveling, I just put the top on. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, 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 Hari, Ram, 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 Krishna. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Ram, Ram, Hari, Ram, Ram, Hari, Ram, 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 Hari Ram, Hari Ram, 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 Hari, 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 Krishna, 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 Hari, 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 Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Ram, Ram, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So you could tell, can you tell Mahaprabhu Kripa, he has my schedule. So he knows, but just, can you just, what do you say? What is the term? Remind? Napomnit, napomnit. Just napomnit. If he wants to translate it. Yeah, 7.
I write him.
Yeah.
And what's the topic?
It's overview. Like, what would you say? 1 hour overview of Nectar of Instruction. Ram Ram Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Krishna Krishna Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Instruction Nectar nastavleniya nastavleni of instruction. Oh, okay. Okay, anyway, it's not, yeah. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Skulka Krugov Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Hare Krishna Pradnya Rajalata Mandakini Ksenia Krishna Priya Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Hari Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari Hari Hari. Okay. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari Hari Krishna Priya Hari Bol Ram Ram Hari 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 Bol Hari Bol Jai Ho Skolka Krugov. Okay. Kardasha. Pozdravляю. Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Jai Bhakta Priya Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Sri Krishna Chaitanya Pramanachananda Shri Adivedi Kadadishas Hari Gopa Tavanda Hari Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram, Ram. Thank you. Ranga Devi. Gdia Gdia Masha Isasha. Anyway, no problem. Pavtaram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shasti. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shasti. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Jai Sagri. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari Hari Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Vrindavan Das. Oh, Masha. Haribol Masha. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari Hari. Oh, Sachinandan. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Harashi Malchik. Haribol. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hari, Hari. Hari Bol. Vrajarasa. Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna.
Скажите, пожалуйста, вы можете дальше представление нам дать?
Dla,
Можете с вами пообщаться?
dla kogo? Dla was i dla Chinnikov? Dla was.
Для нашей семьи.
Semya. Można. Da ja nie znają Waskolka. Ja mogę сказать вам завтра. Или да, завтра. Хорошо. Это зависит от того, что это моя программа. Но я не знаю прямо сейчас. Окей. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Oops. Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari. Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna. Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna. Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hari Hari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram. You're using the cable, network cable? Yeah. 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 Our network cable. Yeah. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Kadruta Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Masha, как жизни? Хорошо. Я надеюсь. Помолись Кришне, чтобы Он помог вам. Рам, рам. Оба. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari Hari Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari Hari. Ram Ram Krishna Hari Ram Hari Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Hari Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Hari Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari Hari Sri Krishna. Chaitanya Pramanitananda Shri Hari Vedingadadishas. Hari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hari Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna. Ram Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Hari Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari Hari. Ram Ram Hari Hari Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari Hari Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Hare Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari Hari Leela Kirtan Hari Bol Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Skazali Mahaprabhu Kripa. Okay. Na Ruski Zoom. Okay. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Oh Oh Hari Bol Krishna Priya Jarit kartoshku I vykluchila vash. Oh, okay. Shri Rupamanjaya. Harasha. Ka vabodisham yakacho kushat yayo kartoshka Poderovensky. Skazitcha yayo. Anadolgina praktika vat. Ram Ram Hari Hari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram. What is the correct time actually?
27 minutes.
It's 27. Okay, okay. 27? Okay. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Madhumati Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Hari Bol Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Bol Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari. Okay. What? Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram. Oi. Okay. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. It's 5:30 now. Yeah, 29. Huh?
Now it's
Oh, okay. Where's Lakshminath? He's meant to sing. Ah. So who is going to sing? Do you want to sing? Do you sing sometimes? How about tonight? You want to? You don't have to if you prefer not. You could sing tomorrow. Tomorrow. Marie? Bhakti is the only thing needed. So, do you want to sing? Jairada Madhava? Yes. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Krishna. Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna Krishna, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Ballava, Jaya Giribaradhari, Jaya Giribaradhari. Gopijana Ballava, Jaya Giribaradhari, Jaya Giribaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha Radhanatha, Radha Radhanatha Radhe.
Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan.
Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan.
Gora Hare, Gora Hare, Gora Hare, Jai Gora Hare.
Gora Hare, Gora Hare,
Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Status Sismadhas Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita Ki Shishi Radha Radhanath Ki Sri Giri Govardhan Ki Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki Go Premanande. All glories to their Sama devotees, all glories to their Sama devotees, all glories to their Sama devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, that was nice. We just, there's a number of you are good singers. Just got to get more of the sense of the rhythm. There's an actual rhythm to it. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastya Chadeshtarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Pramanityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchkalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita Ki Jai, Srila Sanatana Goswami Ki Jai. So devotees, we are in the third part. We are making great progress. We're in the third chapter, I should say. The third chapter of the second part. That's where we are. So we're making great progress. It's a fact. And Gopakumar, towards the end of the second chapter, he was in Brahmaloka. He was Lord Brahma. But then on the instruction of the Mahapurusha, the Supreme Lord, who was relating with him there on Brahmaloka, like the Lord was the father and Gopakumar was his son, an intimate, loving relationship. So the Mahapurusha told him to go back to Vrindavan. And when you get there, chant your mantra. And, well, take it from there. Because there was the idea, if you remember, of going to Mahakalapur. Mahakalapur, wasn't it? Mahakalapur. Yeah, to Mahakalapur. And seeing the Lord in Mahakalapur, Lord Mahakala, who is actually beyond the material nature. And Gopakumar was given a glimpse. But then the Lord Mahapurusha told him, go back to Vrindavan and chant your mantra and we'll see. So he is currently, well, he's not currently, he went back to Vrindavan and he chanted his mantra. Now he is flying devotees through the universe and seeing the different planets which he had been on. Yeah, those planets, you know, those planets. All those planets, and seeing how they're material and they're not really. So wonderful. He saw some of their faults, which he had not really seen before. So now we'll start tonight. We'll start at verse 12. He says, flying. He's still flying through the universe. Next, I reached the coverings of the universe. Each of them, more so than the one before, was rich with enjoyments and opulences, millions of times greater than on Brahmaloka. Sure, millions of times more than on Brahmaloka. What? How many times more than in Chatsworth? Anyway, in the Radharadhanath temple, there's something even better, actually. This is material, though. Enjoyments and opulences means material. 13 and 14. Souls who have transcended the false attributes of created things and who aspire for gradual liberation strive also to go beyond the causative elements of creation, elements found again as false attributes in what is known as the subtle body. To do this, they enter the shell formed of each element. Each element. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. They enter in a body composed of that element and enjoy to their full desire the essence of the pleasure to be had there. You get the idea. People who have transcended to some degree material life, particularly the false attributes of created things. They're not bewildered by the so-called qualities of material things. And they aspire for gradual liberation. So they are not liberated yet. They're in some sort of interim phase. They're not absorbed in material life, but they're not on the transcendental platform. So what they do then, they enter each of the coverings of the universe: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. But in order to enter each one, say for argument's sake, the first one is earth. In order to be able to enter it, they have to assume a body of earth. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible. Yeah. Just like it's said that in order to enter fire, you have to be fire. Otherwise, it won't work. So like this, And in those different elemental layers, there are these enjoyments millions of times greater than in Brahmaloka. So they enter the particular, shall we say, the covering of earth. And there they enjoy, in a body of earth, and there they enjoy just like, it's totally inconceivable for us, but it is material. Yes. So Sanatana Goswami says, when a jiva's on his way out of the material universe, so he passes through the coverings and is provided a body made of the subtle element he is passing through. Otherwise, mere proximity to these concentrated masses of elemental energy would destroy his body at once. You understand? Get the idea? If he just goes in his regular body and enters just any one of those layers, which is composed of, shall we say, earth, the first one, then so he has to have a body made subtly of that particular element. Otherwise, the concentrated mass of the energy of that element in the layer would just crush the body. You follow? 15 to 16. The first covering I entered was that of earth. There I saw the Supreme Lord in the form of a great boar, being worshipped by the goddess Earth, the deity presiding over that covering and its wealth. That's Bhumi. She worshipped him with riches not to be obtained within the universe itself, while all the opulences of the universe whirled within every pore on his body. This is amazing, isn't it? She worshipped him with opulences not to be obtained within the universe. So, I don't know. You cannot buy it in a jewelry shop. Yeah. So, so he entered earth in that subtle body, suitable for being, subtle body of earth or related with earth, and saw Bhumi, the demigoddess of earth, worshipping Lord Varaha, who is the worshipable deity and the consort of Bhumi. As we have Radha Krishna, Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan, we have Bhumi Varaha. Yeah. 17. Within the goddess Earth, who embodies the subtle causes of creation, I saw the creation itself with all its ingredients. Hare Krishna. Amazing. Yes. So basically, within Bhumi, he saw the universes, the material world which we're in. 18. After she finished worshipping the Lord, the goddess honored me as her guest and begged me to remain there to enjoy for a few days. So, what would you do if you were there? Well, I'll tell you what Gopakumar did. It's in verse 19. Taking her leave, I quickly crossed beyond that covering. He has this, it's kind of like an intuition, I guess, because, as usual, he doesn't really understand what's going on. Taking her leave, I quickly crossed beyond that covering, as if pulled by some force, and reached the other side. Probably she wanted his Krishna conscious association. Yeah. So some force, what do you think some force might be? It's the power of his mantra and his sadhana, his spiritual potency from the chanting of his mantra is just moving him forward. One after another, I saw Lords Matsya, Surya, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Sankarshan, and Vasudev, each with one of the great manifested deities of those coverings, worshipping him with the element over which that deity presided. Water, fire, air, ether, ego, or Mahat. Okay. So Gopakumar, you go, earth, he's just been through earth. And what's next? Earth, water. Yeah, so Gopakumar, what form of the Lord do you think he discovered or saw in the water covering, the water layer? Lord Matsya. Gopakumar discovered Lord Matsya in the covering of water, and Surya Narayan in the covering of fire. Each covering was the subtle cause of the one before it, and had a greater object of worship, a greater worshipper, and greater sense gratification, opulence, and importance. So, because going through the coverings, here's the center of the universe, that's where we are. And then there's the layers around. And when you get through actually to the end and out the other side, where are you? You're in the spiritual realm. So therefore, each layer is closer to the spiritual realm. So the water layer is closer than the earth layer, and therefore the particular form of the Lord manifest in the next layer, like Varaha was there in the earth layer. Now we hear Matsya's there in the water layer. Matsya is a more full manifestation of the Lord than Varaha, because you're closer to the spiritual realm. And thus, the demigod presiding over water is higher than Bhumi, the demigod presiding over the earth. And the opulences in the water level are greater than the opulences and the enjoyments in the earth layer. As before, I crossed over each of these coverings and finally came to the covering made of primordial nature. So there's a layer, like last final layer, which is not one of the specific elements, earth or water or fire. It's just material nature. Mahat. Mahat. So finally arrived at the covering of Prakriti, the source from which all the other coverings evolve. And so composed of the most subtle form of ignorance, it was dark blue and attractive to the eyes and mind. So it's the original reservoir of tamagun, and it appears dark, but still it's attractive. Wow, it's amazing. Seeing spread everywhere a color like that of my worshipable Lord, I was very much delighted. I had no desire to go further because the Lord is dark blue. Shama means blackish blue, which is something like the color of the Prakriti, the Mahat. But actually it's more like ignorance. As I arrived, the goddess Prakriti had just finished the worship of her Lord, the Lord of that region, the effulgent Sri Mohini Murti. That's interesting. The form of the Supreme Lord, who is presiding over that, the greatest layer covering of the universe, is Mohini. And Maya. So Prakriti had just finished. Let me just read it again. As I arrived, the goddess Prakriti had just finished the worship of her Lord, the Lord of that region, the effulgent Sri Mohini Murti. The goddess at once approached me in her own superlative form. So it's the Lord in his female disguise. And so, in other words, Mohini is much more attractive than Maya. She offered me gifts such as Anima Siddhi and other great yogic powers. And like the goddess Earth and the other deities, she asked me to stop. She sweetly told me, if you want to achieve your goal of liberation, then please be kind to me, because I am the bestower of liberation. So one might normally think that to get liberation you have to reject material nature. But according to this, one achieves liberation when material nature chooses to release you. Yes. Or, so this is her speaking, or if you want devotion to Vishnu, still you should be kind and worship me, the giver of devotion. For I am his maidservant, his sister, and the embodiment of his energy. So who is she then? His sister? She is Subhadra, born from Yashoda. And she helps the devotees progress in Krishna consciousness. And even though Maya, Devi, is not identical with the internal potency, which is presided over by Subhadra, but Maya is the expansion of that energy. And thus it can be said she's non-different from the original spiritual energy, internal potency of the Lord. Just as a shadow can be considered non-different from a person. Yes. You can't really separate yourself from your shadow. Did you ever notice? Wherever you go, your shadow goes with you. Did you notice that? It's an integral part of our existence. 29. Sri Gopakumar said, declining all these enticements, understanding them to be the potency of Lord Vishnu, I bowed down to the goddess and then wandered for a while to see that beautiful colored region. So, he had the intelligence to not accept what she was offering, because he would have then remained, been entangled. But he just wanted to check it out and just see, wow, what is going on here? Splendid, with the most excellent wonders. That place was delightful, shining on its own. Multitudes of living entities enjoying it. Their bodies made of primordial matter. Pradhan, most subtle material energy. Pradhan is sort of, so to speak, transcendental to the general forms and the composition of the general forms found within this world. It was inconceivable, utterly enchanting in opulence, and many in its forms all at once. The whole of material creation dwelt within it, with all the elements of creation, subtle and gross. 32. By the desire of the Lord, I then crossed beyond that vast region of dense ignorance and came to a place flooded with a light so brilliant, so unbearably beyond seeing, that it forced me to close my eyes. So now he's out. He's out on the other side of the universe, away from the universe. With utmost devotion, I struggled to look ahead, and then I saw the Supreme Lord, effulgent like millions of suns. 34. ever increasing the ecstasy of my mind and eyes, that all-powerful Lord, adorned with many ornaments and sweet features, and bearing all the signs of an exalted person, revealed himself as the most wondrous form of the supreme truth. Most wondrous that Gopakumar has seen so far. There is more to come. But just like in the 10th canto, in the story of, in the Damodar Leela, it said that Mother Yashoda has the most devotion. She is the greatest devotee of all. But the understanding is we have not yet met the gopis. So far, she's the greatest. So it's fine to call her the greatest. So it's fine to call this form of the Lord the most wondrous form. Though always beyond material qualities, in spiritual qualities he's full. Though formless, in form attractive to all. Though never directly connected with Prakriti, that infallible Lord appears resplendent in her company as she performs her pastimes under his shelter. A flood of reverence, fear, and joy overwhelmed me. At that moment, I simply didn't know what to do. The self-manifest Lord is beyond the scope of the senses, but one can see him directly by the power of his mercy. There is no other way. Yeah, the Lord is always described as being self-manifest. So you might think that, well, we don't have any pictures here, do we really? But like Radharanath, or the pictures up in the temple room, we might think, well, you know, they're not self-manifest. I mean, the Lord in the pictures, the deities, they're not self-manifested. They were made by someone. But the Lord is always self-manifest, means he allowed those things to be made. If he hadn't allowed it, they would not have been made. So the Lord is always self-manifest. I was unable to understand whether I was seeing him with my eyes, with my mind, or with the power of the soul that transcended both. Although at one moment I saw him as formless, I remembered the mercy of the Lord of Niladri. And at the next moment, I saw him again in his personal form, vastly effulgent, and I was full of joy. Because the Lord has form and formlessness, oneness, difference. Of course, mainly form is there. The formless aspect, the impersonal Brahman, is not important like the personal form. But one cannot overlook the fact that the impersonal Brahman is a manifestation of the Lord, impersonally. Yes. Sometimes I would begin to merge into the Lord's effulgence. But he mercifully saved me with the touch of the rays from the nails of his lotus feet. What an experience. We may possibly have to go through this experience at some point. Sometimes my mind felt special pleasure in beholding him surrounded by the great perfected beings who were his devotees, at once different and non-different from him. They surrounded him in subtle spiritual forms, like beams of light around the sun. The huge treasure of ecstasy I obtained in this way inundated my mind. I became like a self-contented sage, or like a man whose ambitions have all been fulfilled. A flood of thoughts, upheld by logic, made me conclude I had reached the supreme destination, the highest perfection of life. Not quite, but he thought like that. Tossed by the waves of ecstasy intrinsic to that abode, my mind was overwhelmed, as if the awareness of my goal had vanished. Okay. Yet, because of following the divine instructions of the great saintly devotee, his spiritual master, and because of the strength of my service to the transcendental mantra, my hankering to see with my own eyes the lotus feet of my worshipable deity never fully disappeared. So in other words, he's seeing this form of the Lord as just completely unbelievable. But still he remembers Madan Gopal, and still he remains attached to Madan Gopal. Rather, the more I looked at the effulgent Lord Mahakala. So this is Mahakala, who we read about. Yeah. And it sounded at that time, at the end of the second chapter, it sounded like Gopakumar was going to go on from Brahmaloka, just go straight on to Mahakalapur and to meet Lord Mahakala. But then it became a little confusing that then, he's told, okay, you must go see Lord Mahakala. But then he's told by the Supreme Lord, you must go back to Vrindavan and chant your mantra. So he did that. And so now he is seeing Lord Mahakala. It was a bit of a sort of a process before getting to see Lord Mahakala. So rather, the more I looked at the effulgent Lord Mahakala, the stronger my long-standing greed rose to see the object of my worship, Madan Gopal. The deity I worshipped, Madan Gopal, seemed pulled by force onto the path of my remembrance. We pray that Even sometimes if the mind may think, oh, I'd rather think of something else, but by the mercy of the Lord, we just can't escape remembering the Lord. Because of that greed, even though I beheld the Supreme Lord right before me, I could not feel as satisfied as before. I was disturbed by the fear that I might merge into him, as was likely to happen in that abode. I was thinking that if I returned to Vrajabhumi, I would fulfill my desires. And then I heard some wonderful singing and music while he's there in Mahakalapur. Lord Mahakala's in front of him. There's this danger of merging into Lord Mahakala. And anyway, it's all going on like that. Then suddenly up there in that place, he hears wonderful singing and music. Wow, what's happening? What's going on? Enlivened, looking all around, I saw someone riding on a bull, a unique person arriving from a higher region. Three-eyed, white like camphor, dressed only by the sky. That exquisitely beautiful person carried a trident and bore the half moon on his head, his matted locks brilliantly adorned by the Ganga. His body was smeared with ashes and graced by a charming garland of bones. Hare Krishna. Charming bones. Well, okay. Take a wild guess who that is. And do you know, just let me test you. Everyone except Arjunacharya Prabhu, because he's got the book in front of him. Why is that garland of bones so charming, auspicious, and, his body is graced by a garland of bones? Any suggestions? Because they are the bones of departed saintly Vaishnavas. Yeah. Sitting on his lap, a woman of fair complexion affectionately served him. Divine regalia surrounded him, more heavenly than the riches of heaven. And many followers attended him, their attractive forms and behavior just fitting for his service. Amazing. Feeling the greatest surprise and delight, I thought, who is this? Accompanied by such an entourage and appearing from above the abode of liberation. What do you think of that? Coming from beyond liberation. Shoo. And this is him thinking, still, Gopakumar, he looks more powerful than anyone in the material world, more excellent than all liberated souls. Yet, he seems to violate the rules of civilized behavior, like a great sense gratifier. Krishna. Yeah, so it seems strange to him that this unique person, incredible person, He appears to be the ruler of the material world and the defender of religious principles, but he's ignoring the rules of proper behavior. Going around naked, embracing his wife in public. My mind was overcome by the weight of the supreme ecstasy I felt from seeing him. I bowed down to him and to those who stayed with him, and he gave me a compassionate glance. Impelled by joy, I approached the leader of his companions, named Sri Nandishvara, and asked him in detail about this person and what he was doing. So he asked Nandishvara, who is this? Where's his residence? Where's he going? Nandishvara laughed and said to me, O cowherd boy, devoted worshipper of Gopal, don't you recognize Lord Shiva, the Lord of the universe? So Nandishvara laughed. He's amused. You don't know who Lord Shiva is? What? Who or what are you? Well, he's Gopa Kumar. He's an uneducated cowherd boy. Yes. Okay. Okay, another couple of verses. He is the giver of material enjoyment and liberation, and he expands devotion to the personality of Godhead. He is worshipped even by the liberated and is dear to the Vaishnavas. 58 and 59. Drawn by the devotion of his friend Kuvera, he's traveling with his beloved Parvati and dear gentle companions to grace Mount Kailash with his presence. He came from his own planet, as transcendental as he, an abode reached through devotion by those who see him and Lord Krishna as non-different. In other words, Kailash is a lower abode of Lord Shiva. He's coming down to that, where Kuvera lives, from a higher abode of Lord Shiva. Sri Gopakumar said, delighted to hear this, I was eager to obtain Lord Shiva's grace and fulfill a long-cherished desire. And what happened next? Wow. Tune in tomorrow night and find out. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Brihad Bhagavatamrita ki, Srila Sanatana Goswami ki. Sure. Amazing. So who? It's some sort of like Sadashiva, yeah. Yeah, beyond the material nature. Okay. So we'll continue from verse 60. Shesti said. Around.
Just one question. And what is the significance of the half moon on Lord Shiva?
What's the significance of the half moon? Can't remember. I'll try and find out. The Ganges is from when the water, when the causal ocean came through. The half moon. Okay. Все хорошо. Сколько кругов сейчас?
12.
So I should just tune in to Russian Zoom for
For book yeah, translate.
and Facebook for
Facebook, like usual, you can use OBS and click start broadcasting.
uh-huh.
I
And
can
Zoom.
I can go and check if all okay.
Okay. Well, I have to connect to these devotees Zoom. Yeah.
No problem.
Shall I do it? Well, I just do it straight, but choose OBS as a camera.
So, virtual camera, because you need
yeah.
more than one direction.
Yeah.